And this was supposed to be a joke. And many people started to respond to this joke and say, this is not funny. First of all, the head, it looks pretty darn good. It looks lifelike. It looks something that the Islamic State would use as a propaganda piece. And we can see that many people said that they were canceling her show because they didn't agree with what she was doing. Trump texted out there that Kathy Griffin should be ashamed of herself. He said, my children, especially my 11-year-old son, Barron, are having a hard time with this. She said, this is completely sick. Melania is out there, and she is saying that it makes you wonder about her mental health. And after all of this backlash and everything that was going on, and people saying that we're canceling her concert, she decided to make an apology. Now, when you watch the video of her apology, she didn't apologize to Trump, his family, to the president. She apologized to all those people who didn't get the joke and who were slamming her for what she has done, because what she's really doing is she's trying to save face and trying to make this go away, because she realized she took it too far and her fans are now basically leaving her, and she got fired from CNN. She's not going to be doing shows at the MGM, and there are many things happening all at once. Now, when you look at the apology, she rolls her eyes, and it doesn't really sound like an apology because it wasn't really to the Trump family. Now, the question is this okay because of freedom of speech? Of course, she can freely say whatever she wants. It makes no difference, just like you can scream out fire in a movie theater. But there are consequences for that. And there might be consequences for this, because she might have violated 18 U.S. Code Section 871 by threatening the life of the president. Being a celebrity or claiming you were just kidding is really not an excuse. And this section states the following: whoever knowingly and willfully deposits for convenience in the mail or for delivery from any post office or by any letter carrier, any letter, paper writing, print, missive, or document containing any threat to take the life, to kidnap, or to inflict bodily harm upon the President of the United States, the President-elect, the Vice President, or any other officer next in the order of succession to the office of the President of the United States or the Vice President, or knowingly, willfully, otherwise makes any such threat against the President, President-elect, Vice President, or any other officer next in the order of succession to the office of the President or Vice President-elect shall be fined under this title or in prison not more than 5 years or both. Now, the only question is whether the video represents a real threat, as opposed to some sort of joke or satire that should obviously not be taken seriously. Now, I can understand if she went out there with like maybe a puppet head of Trump and, she said, oh, I'm cutting it off and look at the puppet head and things like that. Yes, you can see that as a joke, but this holding the head all bloodied, making it look as lifelike as possible, well, I don't know if you can use this as an excuse. And apparently the people, even CNN, because they realized what was happening here, they were like, okay, we don't want to get involved with this whatsoever. We're not even touching this. She's just going to be fired from the New Year's show. So we could see right now that she might not be able to use the excuse that I'm a celebrity, this was a joke, and of course this is what she's trying to do. And we can see that this is all what the corporate media is focused on right now. And you have to realize at this point that, yes, you can joke about the president. You can joke about any president. But think about this. If this was done to Obama, what do you think the corporate media would have done? Do you think this would have just been, oh, what a funny joke? No, of course not. But because it's Trump, this is allowed. Now we're getting information that Trump is getting ready to remove the U.S. from the Paris Climate Accord. Axios is reporting that two sources with direct knowledge of the decision confirm President Trump has made his decision to withdraw from the Paris Climate Accord. It appears Trump has made his decision, and the details on how the withdrawal will be executed are being worked out by a small team, including the EPA Administrator Scott Pruitt. They're deciding on whether to initiate a full formal withdrawal, which would take 3 years, or exit the underlying United Nations Climate Change Treaty, which would be faster but more extreme. Now, Trump's decision reportedly follows a letter from 22 Republican senators, including Mitch McConnell, that called for a clean exit, had reinforced Trump's instincts to withdraw. And the president has been telling confidence over the past week that he was going to pull out. Now, we will have to see how this proceeds, but by doing this, pulling out of the Paris Climate Accord is the biggest thing Trump could do to unravel Obama's climate legacy, unravel the deep state and what they wanted to do. And this sends a signal to the rest of the world that America doesn't prioritize climate change and threatens to unravel the ambition of the entire deal. And again, Trump is moving in baby steps right now to prepare the United States for a transition. And to do this properly, he needs to undo many different things or renegotiate certain deals, because he realizes when the system is reset, our way of life is going to completely change. Again, we mentioned how the dollar most likely won't be the reserve currency. It looks like there are two pieces of legislation that are looking to control the Fed and then eventually get rid of the Fed. And we can see at this point, renegotiating NAFTA, and if that doesn't work, getting rid of it, trying to bring manufacturing back to the United States, trying to bring jobs back to the United States, getting rid of the TPP, joining the Belt and Road, and getting rid of the Climate Accord, removing the United States from this, is unraveling everything the deep state wanted from the beginning. And there's a lot more to do. Now, remember, the deep state is not just going to sit back and let this happen. But we can see at this point that we're going to go through this period of this transition where we need to be prepared and ready. Now, if Trump's plan does not work out and he can't cut off the funding to the deep state will stay in power. And again, if you worked in a corporation and you dealt with many different levels and different factions within the corporation, you understand what he needs to do at this point. He needs to move slowly. He needs to realize who is working with him and who isn't working with him. I believe he has a team of individuals that are working with him to maneuver through all this. And again, it's like maneuvering through a minefield, and it is very, very difficult. But we can see at this point that he's doing whatever he possibly can. And there is a plan that is already set in motion, as we can see. Now, I think a lot of people thought he was just going to go into office and he was just going to start firing people left and right. This would not have worked at all. The deep state would have gone at him like there was no tomorrow. Actually, they probably would have just assassinated him. So he needs to move very, very slowly. Actually, he needs to make it look like he doesn't know what he's doing, like he's a bumbling idiot. And I think this is part of his plan. I know there was a tweet out there today with a spelling mistake. And listen, we all make spelling mistakes when we're typing. I mean, it happens every single time. Even when you're using your phone, it tries to, fix your spelling or replace a word with a different word, and you don't even realize it, and you send the text out. Well, this happened today, but actually this is working to his advantage, making it seem like he has no idea what he's doing. And this is keeping them off guard right now. And he's keeping them very busy with all the other propaganda that's going on, which is actually a good thing. And we can see right now, this is all part of the transition period. And he is working with Russia, he's working with China, he's working with many other countries, because all these countries realize what is going to happen. Now, Putin was in France to meet with Macron, and Macron talked with Putin, and these talks were held immediately after the G7 summit, which may suggest that Macron served as a messenger from the Group of Seven, the European part of it. And he informed Putin about the results of the Sicilian summit, which was not very successful, judging by what many Europeans think. Now, what did this meeting mean for Putin? Well, Putin, he was laying it out saying that, listen, Europe needs Russia. They need to work together. They need to break through the so-called blockade. Now, remember, during the Obama administration, they were placing sanctions on Russia. It actually hurt Europe. Putin right now is saying, listen, things need to change at this point because the United States is not getting hurt by the sanctions. Europe is getting hurt by the sanctions. And Macron right now is saying, yes, we need to work with Russia at this point because if we don't, Europe will not survive. And we can see right now that Putin is just laying it out there, saying that, listen, we need to remove all restrictions for free trade. We need to work together with Europe. And we all need to be part of this system. And this is what the globalists didn't want to happen because they actually wanted to control the entire system. And they're still trying to do it. Remember, the deep state is so deep into the system right now that they're fighting everywhere to stay in power. We see it out in the UK with the EU. We see it out in the Philippines. We see it everywhere, and especially in the Middle East, where the deep state will not give up until the very end. Duterte right now, he was going to speak to the terrorists and try to work out something, but he says, no talks. We're going in and removing these individuals. And he's completely did a 180 right now, saying he had enough already. He understands that it's the CIA. He understands that they're trying to assassinate him, and they're sending in the Islamic State to cause chaos in his country. And it looks like, just like he went after the CIA drug operation, he's going after their operation of terror. And he was successful with the drug operation. Most likely, he will be successful in getting rid of the terrorist groups because he's actually going after them. Now, Nikki Haley was out there in the United Nations, and she's saying that the United States is trying to work with China using its channels to convince the government of North Korea to stop the missile launches. She said, at this point, I do believe, and I think the administration believes, that China is doing back-channel networking with North Korea in a way that is getting them to try to stop its nuclear testing. So we believe they are being productive. We do think that they're trying to counter what is happening now, but I'm not sure of this. And she's saying, when do we say enough is enough and we go in and we attack North Korea? Now, the thing is, Trump has set this up in private. Nikki Haley doesn't understand what is going on here. And she's trying to say, listen, after China, after the negotiations and they don't work out, we need to attack. And this is what is happening in her mind because she's part of the deep state. This is what they really want to do. On the back end, through these back channels with China, China is trying to set up deals with North Korea. Now, North Korea is going to continually test their missiles. They're not going to stop because they realize the deep state is coming for them. And they need a way to protect themselves because if they stop testing, guess what? They're wide open to attack. And they understand and regime change. And they understand this. And I'm sure that China is saying, listen, test your missiles, do what you need to do, and once you get it operational, guess what? Let's work this out economically. We'll take care of the deep state. And we will continually push them back and make sure they're not coming after you. Because what we're seeing right now is the South Koreans, they want to speak to North Korea. Actually, before all this happened, North Korea and South Korea, they were getting closer and closer. They were going to make deals. And then all of a sudden, they were pushed apart by the deep state and Obama. And now we can see Moon Jae-in, the president of South Korea, he wants to have talks with North Korea once again. Now, yesterday we mentioned how there was a THAAD system that he didn't understand how it got there. Basically what happened was his own military authorities, they deliberately withheld the information from the new president. They didn't want him to know there was additional THAAD systems in the country. They purposely left it off the government documentation. But he found out about it. So in South